Listen to Mom. But the little white rabbit always felt that her mother's words were a bit annoying. She always wanted to do things on her own, thinking that her mother's advice was somewhat unnecessary. One day, the weather was particularly nice, with sunlight shining in every corner of the forest. The little white rabbit was excited and hopped around, deciding to pick some beautiful flowers for her mother. Mom was sitting in the warm nest at home, reminding the little white rabbit not to go too far and to be careful when reaching the depths of the forest, as there were some dangerous places. She told her not to forget to listen to her mother's words. The little white rabbit nodded, but in her heart, she was somewhat dismissive. She thought, Mom always reminds me like this, but I'm big enough to take care of myself. What's the harm in going a little further? So, the little white rabbit twitched her ears and ran farther and farther. She ran through the forest, admiring all sorts of beautiful flowers, feeling extremely happy. As she walked, she came to a dense thicket, where something seemed to attract her. Curious, the little white rabbit walked into the thicket. Suddenly, she heard a low growl. It turned out to be a big gray wolf jumping out from the grass. The little white rabbit was startled, her heart racing, and she quickly turned to run away. But her foot got caught in a vine, and she fell into a small mud pit, unable to move. The big gray wolf slowly approached her, baring its sharp teeth, its eyes gleaming with malice. At that moment, the little white rabbit suddenly remembered her mother's advice. Don't go too far, be careful. She realized that if she had listened to her mother, she wouldn't have encountered such danger. In the critical moment, the little white rabbit had a clever idea. She jumped a few times, splashing mud from the pit into the big gray wolf's eyes. The big gray wolf was temporarily blinded by the mud in its eyes. Seizing the opportunity, the little white rabbit jumped with all her might, quickly escaped from the mud pit, and ran to safety. Finally, she returned to her mother's side. Seeing the little white rabbit covered in mud, her mother hugged her and asked, "Are you okay?" The little white rabbit lowered her head, saying, "Mom, I didn't listen to you. I ran too far and almost got into danger. I now understand how important it is to listen to your words." Her mother gently stroked the little white rabbit's ears and said, "Sweetie, I always want you to be safe and happy. You're growing up, but you still need to remember that sometimes Mom's words make sense." From then on, the little white rabbit never ignored her mother's advice again. She knew that her mother's love was like warm sunshine, always wishing for her safety and happiness.